welcome to my weekly series. It's called Light Language, A Journey Within, where every week I'd like to bring people on that actually speaks light language and they can share their experiences with us. And today I am so excited to say that we have Tina here with us. And I'm pretty sure most of you already know who she is, but I'm so honored to be able to interview her so that she can shed some more light to all of us with regards to her, a little bit about her background with regards to light language and how she came here, how she is who she is today. But before we start, I just want to formally welcome Tina. Welcome, welcome,
Thank you.
Tina, to the series. And could you just, I know most of us probably already know you, but could you still tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lily. First of all, it is such an honor to be here with you. I'm so excited. I love your energy. I love this series and I love sharing my experience and hearing other people's as well. So, my name is Tina, or Cosmic Earth Child is the name that I've been going by. I'm a soul language healer activator and an energy weaver. I do a lot of quantum energy work and I like to blend the soul language with energy for a really effective form of clearing and shifting energy. I'm a spiritual mentor, and I would say that I've been on a spiritual journey my entire life, always a student and a teacher, as I think we all are. So I'm just really happy to be here.
Okay. And could you tell us, how did you first come across light language?
Absolutely. So, um, well, it kind of fell in my lap, I guess. So,
Oh,
at the time, I was working at a university, and this was when COVID came around, and everything sort of shut down. So, at the time, I have twins. I had brand new babies. I was working full time, and I was constantly busy. But then suddenly, I had some extra time. Okay, so we got laid off, and I was at home. And I'd always been interested in spiritual things as a child. I saw spirit and things like that, but I never really had any explanation for it. And then sort of shut it all off, put it on the back burner. So in this time when I suddenly had some time, I thought, who am I? What interests me? What do I want to do? And I started looking at things like tarot readings on YouTube and somehow fell into the spiritual community on Facebook. And I didn't know any of these people, didn't know anything about what they were talking about, but I was very drawn to it. And so I started seeing all of these live readings and light language and things popping up. And I was so excited. Like, I just wanted to sign up for everything. I wanted to go to everything. I was drawn to all of these people, and I didn't know why. The first time that I heard light language, I had no idea what they were doing. Um, but there was absolutely no resistance in my body. You know, it wasn't a fear of, oh, what is this? Or, oh, that's crazy. It felt so normal to me. And so I started watching these readings and these healings on Facebook. And one night I was watching Mystic Mike, and he was doing readings and speaking light language for people. I'm not sure if I was even on the list that night. I just was drawn to it. And so I watched and I felt good. I was like, this feels good. This feels like home. And so I went to bed that night and I just started speaking and I was saying the same phrase over and over again. And in my head, I was like, this is Pleiadian. And it was sort of
oh.
translating. And then I thought, okay, Tina, you're crazy. You've been up late. Go to bed. Go to bed. Talk about this tomorrow. Um, so I woke up the next morning and I had a new dialect coming through. And this, I can't explain it other than this day I was a fairy. I was a fairy. There was nothing you could tell me different. I was a fairy. I was speaking this Fey dialect, and I could feel in my body the excitement. Like I was almost flitting around the house, right? And people around me were like, "What are you doing? Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a fairy today." And there was no resistance from anyone around me either. They were just like, "Okay." And so that was really how it began. It sort of self-activated just by being curious and not having any resistance. And then a few days later, I saw the Light Language Awakening course that Deb Clark and Rebecca McCann and a few others were putting on. And I said, okay, well, that's perfect timing. That's where I'm meant to be. And from there, that was it. That was, I never stopped talking.
Well, that's incredible because it is true, like what you said, because you just have to go with the flow and do
Yeah,
not allow resistance to stop you in any way. I think that is truly the key to let it out. Like for those of
absolutely.
us that are curious and that are watching that would like to self-activate, like truly that is the key, actually. If you're able to get to the point where you just let yourself allow, just
Mhm.
be silly, have fun, right? Just like what Tina said. Just one day she woke up and wanted to be a fairy, like literally to be, right? Just try it out. Just and then she's able to let it out and speak fairy, right? Speak the fairy dialect. Yeah. But you were saying that when you were ever since you're little, even like you were able to see spirits. Like, can you maybe elaborate more on that? Like how what happened?
Absolutely. Yeah,
And how old were
absolutely.
you? And how old were you
Um,
when
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you the youngest age that I remember. And it's so interesting because when I came back into this spiritual scene, right? I guess you want to call it, when I found all
yeah.
of these people, if you asked me, are you clairvoyant? Are you this? Are you that? I would say, me, no, absolutely not. But what you do is cool. Like, I like it here. This is fun. But as a child, I always just sort of had an awareness. I would see spirit. I think as early as about 6 years old, I was running in the house telling my grandmother and my great grandmother, "There's a fairy ring in the backyard. There's a fairy ring in the backyard," and I was seeing elementals and spirit. And of course, at that age, they just chalked it up to, "Wow, she has a good imagination. That's great. She can keep herself entertained." And so it was never really discussed because at that time it wasn't so broadly spoken about as it is now. My family was Roman Catholic, they were very religious. So any talk of spirit or anything like that just really wasn't heard of. But my mom has always had very strong clairvoyant abilities. And I remember key times in my life where I would be interacting with spirit. And then later in my life, I would find out that that was what was happening. When I was young, my mom worked full time and I would be with my grandmother and I would just run errands with her. We used to go to the graveyard in town where we had family buried and she would tend to their graves. And I was always so excited to go there because there was a little boy there. And nobody questions things when you're a child, right? I just was like, my friend's there. I know my friend will be there. And so I would be always so excited to go and play with him, and we would run around and we would play. And then before I would leave, we would always end up back at this one grave site that was so beautiful, and it had all these little statues and a bench. And I was like, this is so cool. Um, and that probably started about the age of 5 or 6 as well. And it wasn't until I was about 16 or 17 that my grandmother brought this memory back up, did I find out that he was not there as far as she could see. And that was when I realized, okay, this was actually his gravesite. And that's why it had all of the little children statues and things like that. Um, I remember I was on the drill team and I was practicing my flag routine when I was in middle or in high school. And I remember I was in my great grandmother's backyard and I looked up at the house as I was tossing a flag. And as my flag came around, I caught my great grandma or my great grandfather looking at me through the window. And he was just standing there watching me. And I think for me, that was maybe like one of the biggest moments when I realized, okay, now we're understanding this isn't actually someone that's physically here, because I remember when he passed, I was very young. And so there's always sort of been this awareness. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand what my clairs were. Um, but I've always sort of downloaded information. I was very claircognizant. I was innately good at school. I rarely studied. And somehow the information just came in. And so as I progress now, I sort of realize, oh, you've been channeling your entire life and you just didn't know why or how, or it was just something that innately happened.
That can definitely come in handy for school. Yeah, because that'll be really good. But oh, so because you mentioned that even your mom is clairvoyant, because sometimes
Yeah.
it actually not passes, but it's like within your family, like your
Mhm.
generations, they're actually very spiritually connected, right?
Yeah.
Like they have a
Yeah.
lot of clairs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that has to do as well with like with their open awareness of it. You know, as we talk about things so often like ancestral clearing and ancestral chains and breaking the mold and things like that. I think that it makes sense that, you know, if your mother or someone in the line above you was openly spiritual, that that's sort of something that they cleared and paved the way for you on. And even though it really wasn't something that we discussed a whole lot because my dad was very oppressive, and so neither one of us could talk about that. That was crazy, right? But it just makes sense to me that it sort of would pass along that openness, that understanding or awareness.
Yes, yeah. And it also helps too, right? Like I think it does make a difference when people around you, as like especially when you're growing up, they didn't suppress you at such a young age in the sense that you had a friend and you had so much
Right,
fun with this friend, and they didn't really just shut it down and say, there's nothing physical, nothing is
right.
there. What are you
I think at
doing?
the time they were just happy I was entertaining myself. I can be honest.
They're probably
She's
going,
fine. She's
wow.
not in the road. Like she's fine. I can
It's
do what
like,
I need to
wow,
do.
such wonderful imagination my
Yeah,
child
she's
has,
such a good kid. She's so busy all the time.
Yes. And I think that probably happens to a lot of children or a lot of people
Yeah.
when they were little. They had
Hmm.
these so-called imaginary friends, right? And
Yes.
perhaps they are truly there, like spiritual friends, like they truly are there, And even with light language, like when they're
Mhm.
little, they could be speaking
Right.
gibberish, quote unquote,
Right.
gibberish.
Exactly.
Yeah, and but then parents, because they're brought up a certain way, they just kind of either say, "You're stop it, you're annoying, you're so
Right.
annoying, do not do that anymore."
Right.
And unfortunately, right, and that's when children maybe they just stop doing that, or even with
Hmm.
their imagination, or even with their seeing
Right.
clairvoyance, they just don't really aren't able to use it as much, right? Because I mean, they just
Absolutely.
turn it off. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I 100% agree. And that's the thing is like children and even pets like dogs and cats. You'll notice maybe you have a cat that like gets up and runs around at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. They don't have this, what we call like human programming, right? Because they haven't been conditioned to believe that this is crazy, this is not true, that they're seeing things, that they're making things up, the things that we hear, right? And so they're very aware of those other aspects. And a lot of the time when they're staring off at something or they shift in their energy, it's because they can feel or see a shift in energy in the room. And I 100% believe that children, they come in so open because it's like almost like they're a blank slate, right, in this lifetime. And so until we teach them that it's not normal or that we don't believe them or that it's nonsense or whatever, um, they're off doing what they're doing. And I fully believe that. I mean, I have twins, they're 4 years old now, and um, they are so incredibly open. They blow my mind every single day. Um, and luckily, light language was something that did come into my awareness because I noticed my son, he is on the autistic spectrum, and he does a lot of coding with his hands. My daughter, she has more of like an earthly elemental kind of fey energy. She's always flitting around, but I've noticed that she's extremely clairvoyant and she'll be calling energies in, especially the fey.
Wow.
Um, and so I find it so fascinating to just watch them kind of be who they are in their element, and they teach me something every single day. And I only think about how how everything's going to be in 15 years, right? When their generation are the ones that are really stepping up out into the world and kind of continuing that chain and starting to have their own families and their own children. It's just having that support means absolutely everything.
Yeah, and I think they're so lucky to have you, as a mom because you let them be them. You allow them to be them, right? And there's no suppression whatsoever, and that's just incredible. That is just totally incredible. And
Thank you.
yeah, I honestly think that. And
I think that's
so
like the greatest gift you can give someone else, honestly, is just the space to be themselves and to
yes,
explore that.
yeah, absolutely. And especially at a young age, because just imagine if all the children are brought up intentionally,
Right.
and the parents allow them to be who they are in a loving manner, then a
Right.
lot of people would not need a lot of the child childhood healing,
Right,
right?
right. There wouldn't be
Yeah, like
as
as an
many
adult,
programs
as
to
an adult.
release, or yeah, as
No,
much
no.
trauma to work through.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But so ever since you started speaking light language, it's interesting because I'm hearing that a lot of people have ever since the 2020, which is
Yeah.
a blessing in disguise in the sense that the whole entire world actually closed down and literally, and then it gives people a chance to willingly or not willingly, they need to go within. I mean, if they
Hmm.
wanted to, but because they don't have to go to work or whatever, they're able to quiet their mind more so than usual. And I find that a lot of people actually awake, so to speak, awaken as a
Right.
result and started speaking or getting to know light language. So since then, how has it changed your life?
I honestly feel like the question of how hasn't it changed my life would be a little bit easier, but it's absolutely changed my life in so many ways. And I always joke that I sort of did it backwards, but ignore that because that's programming. There is no right or wrong way, right? Because I fell into this spiritual community and I was like, light language, I'm going to start with that, and I was surrounded by people that were Reiki masters and this and that, and already had such a great awareness of energy and what their abilities were and all this stuff. And I was just like, hi, I'm Tina. I was a fairy the other day. Um, but using my light language, my soul language, learning, not learning, but unlocking the ability to use that has changed my life in so many ways because when I started using it and I realized how ridiculous that would look to other people, but I had no resistance in doing it. It was like the moment that I broke free. And the more that I spoke it, the more it was like I could feel the chains coming off. I used to live in chronic pain. I had chronic joint issues. I was always in pain. The more that I started using my light language, soul language, whatever term, the more that I started using that and becoming aware of energy, the more that lessened. And
Wow.
speaking my light language blew all of my clairs wide open. Um, it blew everything wide open. I started feeling and manipulating energy. I started understanding downloads coming in. I realized I was clairaudient and I wasn't just hearing things all the time. And then I started seeing again, something that I had very consciously shut off, probably in like my preteens when I was like, why are all these energies looking at me, right? And it was fear and programming, and so I shut it off. And so everything started coming back in, and now um, I use it for everything. I use it for everything. I use it to set shields and armor and boundaries around myself and grids around my children and the house. I use it when I can't find the English words to use. I feel like I can express myself by means of emotion in a much deeper way now, because we can't always find the right English word to use because it's sometimes it just doesn't have enough oomph or it's not enough. Um,
Yeah.
it really took me from this girl that never um, was openly speaking loudly or outly about anything. And it just kind of skyrocketed me. And it was like, nope, no, actually, this is what you're going to do. You're actually an activator, you're a channel, and you're going to, if you told me that I would be online in front of people doing anything, especially, speaking light language and coding and activating, I would have told you that you were absolutely crazy. I never wanted to be seen. Um, and I'm still not someone that's like, yes, please, limelight. But, I'm not afraid anymore. I don't have fear. I'm not afraid of anything. It's connected me with my guides, my higher self. I'm aware of the energy that supports us and surrounds us every day. And so, I don't know, I could go on and on and on, but it's really changed my entire life. Everything about it made me who I am.
Yeah, yeah, because I know what you mean, especially about the being online and talking and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's same with me too. Because I'm thinking, I don't have anything to say. I cannot talk for hours. I cannot
Right.
talk for that long. What am I going to talk about, right? But then look at us. Like sometimes we're online for like 3 hours, just doing all
Yeah,
light language, literally.
exactly.
Yeah, and then we're like, wow, 3 hours has gone by already.
And someone watched? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
because it truly is incredible. And I totally feel the same about light language, like meaning there sometimes it's just in English, I cannot express myself the way that I would like to. I cannot find the words. And whereas
Yeah.
with light language, I find it so much easier just to bring it through and express it in that way. But speaking of which, because you're extremely open, you can actually channel basically any light language. But just out of curiosity, which is the most interesting dialect or vibration that actually came through that made you go, whoa, that was interesting. What was
I'm
that?
I'm trying to think. I have a few.
Yeah.
I think probably this I guess we'll go with strangest, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
English words, right?
Yes, yes.
Probably the strangest or most different that came through, and it stuck for a while too, was dynanoid. And it
Dynanoid.
is like very guttural, and it's literally just the only way I can explain it is that your diaphragm is going in and out. And this sound is coming out, and I was like, okay, this is nothing like a language at all. This is not a harmony. This sounds nothing like words. What
Yeah.
is this? And there was also another time that I was actually doing live readings. And sometimes these energies will come in for people, and I'm like, I can't possibly do that right now. I don't know if I can do that. What is that going to be? Especially, I work outside, so like my whole neighborhood hears this all the time. But I was
But they're all
live.
healed. They're all getting these free healing
Hopefully it's
sessions.
helping, right? Hopefully it's helping and not just like scaring all the stray cats. But one time I was live and I was doing readings and clearings or something along those lines. And I connected with this woman, and she had an insistent guide that was coming in. And it was a cosmic peacock that told me that it was from the 18th dimension. And when I tell you, um,
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was the most horrendous sound I've ever made in my life. You know how, like, when you have your windshield wipers on and then the window
Uh-huh.
dries up and you don't necessarily need them, but maybe you didn't turn them off yet. And it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
that, like, that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
sound. It was
Yes,
a
yes, yes.
very, very, very loud, high pitched frequency. Um, that I then channeled a few times and probably was heard for blocks. For blocks. And I was like, okay, we're done online today. We're done with this today.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Yeah, because when you say 18th dimension peacock, because for humans, right, like you
Right.
attach
It's like,
human experiences
what?
with it, you're like, wow, that must sound pretty
Right.
interesting, right?
You'd think it would be like very exciting, interesting, or beautiful. And it was something for sure. But I hope I never have to do that again. To be honest. Sorry, peacocks. I'm sorry, but I've sang your song once and that was enough for me and my neighborhood, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm just reading the comments, and T said, because we're talking about we strange, quote unquote, dialect,
Right.
she goes, remember the chicken? Because
Oh,
I think
yeah.
once you guys channeled the
Yes,
chicken.
I've channeled chicken. I'm trying to think. I've channeled chicken. I remember the first time I channeled amphibian that was very interesting. And I have a few amphibian dialects that I haven't necessarily heard before that definitely sound more recognizably amphibian. What else? There was a rooster. One time, Deb and I, we channeled a rooster while we were live. Um, with Allison, we've channeled a 2D toad. So there's all kinds of things
Oh,
that
2D
come in,
toad.
and it's like when they come in, they're coming in. Sometimes you look ridiculous, you sound ridiculous, but
Yes.
I just let it out because I don't want that stuck in my throat, right? So I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
leave somebody else with that stuck in theirs either.
Yeah, it's true, right? Because once they want to come in, you're just like, okay, I have to let it go. Because
Yeah.
with the one that one of them where I experienced where literally my whole face is contorted, contorted,
Yes.
where it's like, "Oh, but you
Yeah.
have to do that in order for the sounds to come out
Right. For
properly,
the sound to come
right?
out.
Yeah,
I 100% understand and agree with that
yes,
statement. The
yeah.
2D toad always wanted you to get like very close to the camera and like kind of like pull your face, and I was like, no, 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 no. But that's a clip I'll send you later. I'm sure I have one
Yes, yes.
somewhere.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, let me see. Okay, so the comments, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Kayleen Burke said, could you always see, quote unquote, or know the messages you were receiving or communicating from the very beginning of your light language journey?
For me, it was a little bit different. So yeah, I sort of self-activated just by being open and around. And that very first message came through and it translated. However, every single person is different, and every single dialect that has come through and calibrated, it hasn't been that way. So there were some that I initially could feel right away. I could feel out the message. There were some that I would go, what in the world is that? And I would, you know, okay, throw that thought out and just allow it to come in. So I think it really just depends on which clairs you're using most dominantly, how open and in allowance are you, um, which dialects resonate most deeply with you. Because at first, like the fae and the insectoid and things, they didn't make a whole lot of sense to me when I was hearing other people use them, but I could feel them. And then there was probably an entire year where Faye was like what wanted to be most front facing and prominent for me. Um, Something that I did a lot of in the beginning as I was calibrating, it was like one day I just had a collective behind me and they all started trying to talk at the same time. And it sort of stayed that way until I told them off. But in that time, what I would do is I would record myself, and I think I have a Snapchat saved of the very first time that I was like, I'm a fairy. But I would record myself and then I would just let it go, and I would come back to that video and close my eyes and say, what is this message here, and feel into it. And that's how I would start translating um, my perspective on what was coming through.
Yes, actually, that is actually really good advice because I think some of us that do channel it, we are wondering, right? Like what kind of messages? Sometimes you don't really know messages. Like sometimes
Mhm.
you think you're not receiving any messages or you cannot really interpret it. Maybe that's the best way. There are messages, but maybe you cannot interpret it. And and I guess the best way to do it is just to, like what you said, a good example is to record yourself
Right.
and come back to it.
Absolutely. And every
Video
single
recording or
person, yeah, every single person is different. So I always say don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare your light language journey. Don't compare your spiritual journey. Don't compare your clairs or your outfit. Don't compare anything, because every single person is different and every experience is different. But the best advice that I always can give you is to lean into yourself, lean into whatever clairs or abilities feel most open to you. If that's feeling, okay, what is this message? How do I feel it somewhere in my body? Does it feel good? Does it feel hard? Does it feel soft? Do I feel it in my body? um, Can I hear something? Does something just drop in? Do I suddenly know this is what this is about? Do I see something? Lean into whatever psychic senses or abilities are most open or front facing for you. And by doing that, everything else is going to slowly open like this beautiful blossom.
Yeah, I love that. And plus, you do have a course, like you have so many offerings because you are able to help in so many various different ways. And maybe you could just tell us in detail, like what it is that you offer, how can you help, and the services, the different courses, and yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I do a little bit of everything because my main goal in life, or the thing that brings me the most joy, is assisting others in stepping into their own divine sovereignty, stepping into who they are, realizing the power and ability that lies within them, realizing what they're already working with and what we can sort of advance. So I do teach a Starseed Intuitive Awakening course with one of my personal mentors, Deb Clark of Mystic Heart Space. This is basically an all-around channeling course. So this is anywhere from beginner to advanced, depending on where you are in your journey. If you're someone that is just starting out and wants to unlock your clairs, um, gain understanding of your psychic abilities, energy, how to create signs and symbols, this is a place for you. And if you're someone that's already aware of energy, but maybe wanting to deepen the understanding of messages that are coming through, maybe unlock some other things, or be able to start working with that as far as practicing for others and starting your own sort of business, that's for you as well. Um, I do soul language activations. I do spiritual gifts activations, readings, energy weavings. I have all kinds of events coming up online. One with the beautiful Lily, as well as Vin. That's going to be on December 21st, which is a really exciting day because it's winter solstice and it's also this mirrored portal sort of date. We're going to be doing activations and upgrades and clearings. I also am doing a new series right now, which is a Cosmic Remembrance series. And on the 16th, myself, Deb, and Bernie are going to be channeling our reptilian guides and sort of giving them a Q&A. So we're going to be asking them, what is your mission? Where would you like to advance? What are you here for? Really just diving in with them. And then the following day, the 17th, Deb and I are going to do a dialect attunement and calibration for those that want to start using those dialects and speaking them. I've also got a readings and clearings event coming up on the 19th. And then next month in January, we've got more Cosmic Remembrance that hasn't been put out there yet, so I don't want to ruin any spoilers, but I'll be back with Lily and this time with Catherine Ong. So I'm sort of all over the place as far as lives go, but my passion really is just helping unlock things within you. I can be found on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all as Cosmic Earth Child. And any details about services or events or courses or anything can be found at cosmicearthchild.com.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I know you offer so many, like you're so incredibly gifted and talented and
Thank you.
powerful, really. And anybody that is called to go to you, they really should, because
Oh, thank you.
you will basically help them literally, right? Like it's totally worth it to go to you for sure.
Thank you.
And yeah. And so back to the course, actually, I'm kind of interested in
Yeah.
the first one you talked about. I think you said the intuit. I can't remember the actual name for the course, the intuition course or intuit
It's the
for.
Starseed Intuitive Awakening course.
Yes, yes. Okay, so for that, are there any practice sessions? Like, how does it work? How do
Yeah.
you gain ability? Like, how do you? Yeah, so is it just more like, could you maybe explain a little bit more about how does the course work? Like, is
Yeah,
it just,
absolutely.
because I'm pretty sure it's not just course material, like meaning reading,
Right.
it's not that. So can you just elaborate more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do this with Deb Clark of Mystic Heart Space, who, as I said, was one of my mentors. She was actually one of the first people that I found online, and I was drawn to her. So this is a digital download course that comes with certification. So there are course materials. I think we have about 42 videos that we have recorded and placed there online. So it's a go at your own pace video course. So you can watch at any given time. There's going to be prompts along the way to sort of put these things in practice. And we discuss all of the clairs and abilities. We discuss grounding, boundaries, cleansing your energy, energetic cords, kind of all of it. But there's also a private practice group on Facebook that comes along with it. And I always believe that that's where you're really going to expand. And so this private practice group is for course members only. And in that group, there are live Q&As, there are live group practices. We do paired one-on-one practices. So everyone that signs up gets a one-on-one live practice with myself and Deb as well. And that's just a place for people to ask questions and practice on one another, which I think is so fun because you get to support other course members and they get to support you. And sometimes we're all together and sometimes it'd be just, like you and I are right here now. And they'll be practicing reading each other and sensing their energy, setting their signs and symbols, doing healing, whatever it is that they want to work on. So we really just wanted a place for people to be able to unlock their abilities and their channeling in the way that best works for them, because every single person is different. And trust me, I get it. I have 4-year-old twins. I know how busy life can be. So having the go at your own pace video course is really nice because people can tune into those materials, practice, take notes, whatever it is that they want to do at their own pace with no pressure. And then they can always come into the group, ask their questions, join on screen or in the group for live Q&As or practices, or have their course members read for them, and then always come back to those videos at any time. And there's albums with quick reference points.
So with the course then, for people that would like to know more about light language and deciphering any light codes, light soul language messages, so on and so forth, how can this help them? Can the course help them? How can it help them?
Absolutely. So we don't mainly focus on light language, soul language, or codes in there, but I believe that it can truly help anyone that is opening up to channeling. So of course, Deb and I both do a lot of work with light language, soul language, and coding. So it's sort of an innate thing that we both have as part of our path. But I truly believe that learning to work with your clairs and abilities, understanding your guides, bringing them in, connecting in with them, I feel like it all goes hand in hand, because the more that you're able to notice the subtle differences in your body or the things that you're seeing or hearing or feeling, the more you're able to notice when your guides are coming in, and set those signs and symbols with them, the easier it is for you to notice those subtleties when you start channeling light language, or speaking your soul language and understanding the message that's coming in. Because I believe that once you're in that channeling state, whether you're speaking English, Chinese, soul language, whatever language, right? It's going to download into you in whatever way is best for you. So once you start understanding those messages and connecting in with your team of guides and your higher self, that translates into light language, soul language, and coding as well, because you have a better understanding of sort of how you receive messages, how you decipher them, and how to feel into them as well.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. That really helps. I have one last question before we actually jump into the collective clearing healing that we usually do. But this question is I'm just curious, if you can explain to me, what does exactly light weaving mean? Like a light weaver, what does it mean exactly? Because I
Oh no.
would like to know exactly what does it mean.
Okay.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I thought I froze for a minute.
Am I frozen?
I don't think so. One of us was for a second, but we're back. This is so much fun, guys. We're like playing guessing games. So For me, that is simply just receiving. So what if you're light weaving, receiving the energy of light, and then being able to weave it in and out through people's bodies, through their energetic system, through their energy centers. So I like to use the term energy weaving because I sort of do this with whatever comes in. I'm an open channel. So if I'm bringing in light for someone, source light, or if the color blue pops in and there's a feeling that goes along with that, whatever that is, I'll harness it into my body. I use my hands, sort of similarly to Reiki, but just a little bit more dynamic. So I will channel that into my body, and then I will sort of place it in their body and weave it into wherever it is meant to go. So sometimes I'm doing something a little bit more like weaving or webbing, almost like a spider would be doing. I'll have codes that are coming in and we'll kind of weave this little patch for whatever the reason may be. Sometimes it's being pulled through the energetic system. And this can be done with light codes. It can be done with specific elements. So I'll do this with fire if I feel like someone needs something burnt off, or the energy of air, stars, anything that person needs. Sometimes I'll pull in the energy from crystals and whatever the intent is with that, and weave it through the body. But it's basically just a more dynamic version of something like Reiki, where you're working with energy manipulation and then just pulling it through the body to where it needs to be.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're
That really
welcome.
helps. That really helps because I can
You're already
imagine it.
doing it. By the way, you're already doing it.
Yeah, it's just that I think a lot of the things that I'm doing, I have no name for. Like I just do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
intuitively, I'm like, okay, that's what you need. So I'm just doing it. But
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
And that's why I sort of was like, I'm going to call this energy weaving, because sometimes when we explain things to other people, that the human brain needs a term for it, right? But
Yes.
it really is just sort of what you know. And as you're starting to use your light language and really channel that in, for me, the hands didn't come right away. One day they just showed up, and then I looked like a tornado all the time. But it's kind of just leaning into what you know and then trying to put a human term to it to explain it. But you're already doing it for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
You're
you for the
welcome.
confirmation.
That's
Okay,
your team.
so
They're like, just tell her, just tell her.
just tell her, yay, thank you. High five. High fives all around. Okay, so everybody, we're going to get ready for a collective clearing and healing. So if actually you have any questions for Tina, you can pop that in too. So once we're done with the collective clearing healing, she'll answer it. She'll help you answer it. But in the meantime, sit back, relax, and if you're not familiar with light language, just listen to it as if it's music and don't analyze, just like the way you would not analyze music. You would just listen to it, feel it, see how you feel in your body, in your cell, in your heart, and your soul. And if you have any physical releases, such as burping, yawning, coughing, please do so. That is highly, highly encouraged. And if you see us do it, don't be offended
Don't
because
tell everyone we were burping on camera, but just it's normal.
yes.
You see it,
Yeah.
you didn't see it. Just don't tell anybody.
In fact, it's actually you'll be like, "Ooh, that's really good. They're clearing for us." Yeah. So so sit back, relax, and open your hearts if you wish to receive. So Tina will go first.
Maktunya harbarbi askan ya shin tik ya oktoru turni makki ba tin tik imskiri shin tik ya makki ya makki turni ya makki askan ya tik shin tik baktunya tik akskiri tik arkskiri shin tik ko ya makki kurru bi ya karata ya rata ya rata kurru ya raskiri ya shin tik Mahaya yana sarati iya ya shakua. Wasanda ya sarantai iya yana. Hiya ya wakua wahasaratai. Nia ya sara tukurandaya. Nihia ya nasakua wahaya ya sarati. Ya satu warandaya ndaya sakua wa. Nia ya sarandaya sakua wa. Ya shatu andai iya yanda sikiara tukura. Nahaya ya nasakua wa shatai. Ya saruturandaya nahaya kuawa. Yaskatut unduaranda yasandai I mahrutu randa yasurtur yandaratar yasartukura yakwah mat nyasat inder di askat unduaranda nyasat utuar mahwat kyukt nimek indekat esker ershnt kira bakir 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 esker mat ya bakir askan arut ya bakir askan arut ya uri kira bakir askat unduar mat nyakat wakt mat utunya hashat atnyas atyat atunduk tunuk tua mat nyarada nyaskat anak atunak ya nak ya kurpo mat unyasati hashatua makuna sataya sati ya wah 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 kuna hana sataya wah 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 shihya sandaku wah wah mantaya sanda iya yanda manahaya wakua wah sutunda haya nasati wakuna satai iya ya shakwa nahaya ya satua ratai iya ya hasakua wasatai iya yanda
Pitur piti tar barara chikada garara garara chikada yara to garara barara chikada kada chikada roto piti da barara chikada to kurro pitara chikada to kurro pitara chikada to garara piti da barara chikada to garara chikada to garara chikada to garara yara to garara piti da barara chikada barara garara chikada to garara barara pitur piti tata rapite rata garata tatu rapite tata pitata parata tata racha kata rata garara chikarita tu rapite tata parata tita tu garara piti tur piti tarata tarara chikata tita barara chikarara tita racha kata chikarara chikarara tu garara ro piti rapiti rata chikarara tita rata garara chikarara chikarita tu garara chikarita tu pitara barara chikarira garara chikarira barara chikarara tu garara pitara tara tita tu garara tita chikarira tu garara pitiri barara tu garira barara rata chikarita tu garara pirara rata chikarira tu garara tu pitita pitara tata chikata tata rapita chikarira tu garara roto tiri barara tira chikarira tu garara barira chikarira tu garara chikarira barara chikarira tu Piti tararara, piti tararara, chakarara, tatarara, chakarara, paragara, chakarara, pitara tarara, chakarara, 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 pitara tarara, chakarara, takarara, chakarara, 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 patarara, chakarara, 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 Okay.
Felt really good.
Yeah, good. So everyone, if you're ready, please open your eyes and come back to us and let us know how you feel.
I'm just hearing, y'all ready for this in my head.
Tiani said, thank you for sharing, Tina Powell. Glad I watched this one. And
Oh,
thank
I'm
you
so
both
glad
for
you're
the
here.
healing. Have a great evening. Yeah,
Oh,
have a
we
great
love you,
evening.
T.
Feeling great, she said. Feeling great.
Good, good. Felt like a nice deep release. Really, really nice shift. Perfect just in time for this full moon in Gemini. So really, I really felt a lot coming out with that collective clearing. So
Yeah.
hydrate, everyone.
Yes.
If you're here and you're open to receiving coding, clearing energy of any and all kinds, please, please hydrate. If you can add some electrolyte to that, that's great. Take some time to ground, shake your body, move it around, allow that energy to flow out. And it did feel like we did some deep clearing within that. So if you are emotional or feeling a little bit strange in the next couple days, just remember that we did do this energetic clearing here today. So you're not crazy. You're just releasing things to make space.
Yes. But that is such a good point, though. It's important to point that out, right? Because afterwards, with lots of heavy duty energy work,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel at odds. And
Yeah,
now you know why. So don't be afraid if that happened.
absolutely. The light language, it definitely it shifts so much, and it really can spark a lot of emotional triggers, things coming up, things wanting to be released, emotion, crying, feeling angry, all of that. So just keep in mind that this work was done, and take care of yourself. Show yourself some grace, show yourself some love, especially with this full moon tomorrow. Like, everyone, please, please, if you can rest, do that. Uh, Really just be conscious of what it is that you want to release and allow that to go out into the universe so that you have space for new, beautiful adventures.
Yes. Okay, we got hearts, lots of hearts, and Tiani said, "Lots of love to you both too." To you too,
Oh, we love you.
Tiani. T. Yeah.
Thank you. We love
Thank
the
you.
hearts.
Yes, we do.
We love all of you, and we love the hearts.
Yes. So thank you everyone for hanging out with us. It has been lots of fun, and thank you so much, Tina, for joining. I loved it. It was such an honor and so much fun, so much fun.
Absolutely.
And And so stay tuned, everyone, for our next series, the next episode that's coming up next week. Stay tuned.